Marijuana use is something that most people within the United States have encountered in some form, whether it is through the direct use or some relation to someone who has tried the drug. Marijuana was deemed illegal with the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, which made possession or transfer of cannabis illegal throughout the United States, excluding medical and industrial use. Following this act, the use of pot held a reputation as something negative. Although it was illegal and had a negative reputation, acceptance with the population has become more prevalent. However, despite the use of cannabis becoming less taboo, the drug is still something that strikes controversy today. Marijuana has been used for research since before 1937, especially for the medical fields. But beginning in 1978 in the state of Mississippi, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of an individual to use cannabis to treat his glaucoma. Since then, leaps and strides have been made in the world of medical marijuana. However, this was not done without much resistance. Following the Supreme Court ruling in 1978, coalitions and interest groups have pushed for more widespread research or acceptance of the use of medical marijuana. Within the last 10 years, several states, the most notable being California, Colorado, and Washington, have made it legal for the use of medical cannabis with a doctor's recommendation. This use comes into the light when those with legal documentation were still arrested in states such as Washington. Despite the state dubbing the drug legal for medical use, the federal law still considers pot illegal overall, which leads to the constant struggle for medical marijuana dispensaries and those who work within the job market. The issue of the decriminalization and acceptance of marijuana for medical purposes hold within them two broad sociological concepts that, when looked into on a deeper level, can be expanded into many different levels of the sociological imagination. The two primary terms in these issues would be power and influence, both of which share similarities to one another, but do not exactly have the same meaning. Within the realm of sociology, power is most simplistically defined as the ability to exercise one's will over others. Power more often lies within the large scale, such as the policymakers, and relates to this only when looking at the issue at hand in a broken down manner. For example, power brings authority, which has a relation to the social control through the creation of laws, and those who hold power decide what becomes a solidified law, which therefore determines what is and is not a crime. The groups who hold power include the government officials in office, leaders of corporate systems, as well as those with large sums of money that are used to influence political choice, such as super PACs, PACs, and those using lobbying for their personal agendas. The next sociological concept is influence. Influence is defined as the exercise of power through a process of persuasion. Influence is a direct relationship to power, whereas those with power oftentimes hold the most influence. This is not the only case, though, as influence can come from the general population, no matter the monetary value of the group. It is situations like this where influence of interest groups push to bring about social change. The debate between pro-pot and anti-pot is something that has occurred for generations. The anti-marijuana push can be seen even in 1936, just 1 year before the Marijuana Tax Act began, with the film Reefer Madness. With this film comes the old-school stereotypes of the drug being addictive and making people do crazy and aggressive things. Of course, this idea is considered outdated in modern times, but the anti-pot advocates still exist. In modern times, these people come in forms of people such as Sheldon Adelson, the casino owner and GOP supporter. Recently, Adelson donated millions of dollars to groups whose attempts to prevent the Pro-Pot Amendment 2 in Florida from being passed. Large corporation funding and political power is the advantage that the anti-marijuana groups have in the modern day. For those who are advocates of pro-pot coalitions, the support from the majority is what keeps them in the fight. Donations from wealthy supporters of their claim, along with demographics, provide a strong bond in order to push their agenda. What these groups lack are the political power from the older generations who remain in office with the federal government. The fight between both of these groups is something that does not seem to have an end in sight, although the world is seemingly changing its views on cannabis. The Reefer Madness era has ended, and the acceptance of pot is becoming something that is slowly coming to fruition. In states such as Washington and Colorado, marijuana has already been legalized to be sold commercially in select stores. Although the federal government still deems the drug legal, it may not be as long as people think before people accept the medical benefits and monetary value that is possible from the sale of marijuana.